Hey everyone, welcome back to The Strategic Veteran. I'm your host, Adam Peters, and today we're diving into the world of entrepreneurship, one of my favorite realms. As we all know, this show started as a path back to purpose for veterans being through entrepreneurship. So this is just, I'm super excited about this, but we're going to do this with someone who knows exactly what it takes to build a business from the ground up. Whether you're a veteran looking for the next mission or civilian life, or an aspiring business owner seeking financial freedom, my guest today has the blueprint. Neil Twa is the CEO and co-founder of Voltage Holdings, and he spent the last decade mastering the art of building and scaling e-commerce businesses. Alongside Reed Larson, he recently co-authored Almost Automated Income with FBA, a groundbreaking guide to creating a profitable lifestyle-driven Amazon business. His expertise in online business automation and exit strategies has helped countless entrepreneurs carve out their own path to success. Today, we're going to hear his insights on navigating challenges, seizing opportunities, and what it takes to build a business that works for you. Neil, brother, welcome to the Strategic Veteran Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for reaching out and wanting to share all this incredible, exciting entrepreneurial knowledge with the audience here.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm honored, Adam. I appreciate being here, and hopefully we can have a good word and some interesting conversation today. I'm fired up about America today, so and everything is happening. So,
yeah, man. Like I said, dude, first question for everybody is usually where did you grow up and what inspired you to join? But you're not a veteran yourself, and so let's flip that a little bit. Where did you grow up and what inspired you to do the work that you're doing, and then reach out to me to want to support other veterans?
Well, I grew up in Oregon. Technically, I landed there when I was 3 or 4 years old. After I was born in Missouri, parents moved to Arizona, and Dad found work in Oregon, so we ended up in Oregon. So that's kind of where when people say where you grow up, that's where I grew up, even though I wasn't born there. It was a great place to grow up, mountains, hiking, outdoors, 40 minutes and you're at 7,000 feet and you in the middle of the forest and you can get lost and killed and have all that fun, right?
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, gorgeous country. Loved it as a kid. It was all doing great until the spotted owl crap destroyed our industry and kind of changed the economics of the whole state. Brought in a lot of tourism, and with that came all the other nonsense that comes with tourism in certain areas and crime and other things. And it just quite wasn't the place that I wanted to be anymore. I left when I was 19 and I went to college on a full ride music scholarship with work study. It was actually my fallback position. So my dad was a 2-tour Vietnam vet on a destroyer. So he taught me, suck it up, buttercup, and planned to go into the military. Actually wanted to be a fighter pilot. So I was joining the Air Force. And in the last semester before I was graduating from school, I hadn't even planned to go to college. I was going to go be a fighter pilot. As it turns out, I'm too tall to fit the cockpit. So I couldn't literally get the helmet on and close the cockpit. So that was out. That's all I wanted to do. They're like, well, you can fly helicopters. You could be a maintenance aircraft. You could do these other things. But I'm like, man, I want to go faster. Nothing.
That's not a jet.
Not a jet. Right. Not even equatable. Right. In hindsight, I probably would have gone back and said, okay, well, I'll fly the A-10s. Now that I have an understanding of everything more, I would have loved to have been an A-10 pilot. But as it turns out, low and slow and just all the fun with that jet. It's quite an amazing piece of machinery. So at the end of that, I didn't have the opportunity to serve then. And as I went on through college and stuff, I kind of missed that window. As it turned out for me, based on my age and what I would have done if I'd gone through the fighter school and actually deployed like 90 minutes, literally later, I would have been straight into Desert Storm. So I would have gone straight into combat. So as it turns out, that wasn't my lot in life, was to go a different direction. And so as I grew up and got into business, internet came online when I was in college, and I dropped out of college because, hey, the internet, right? Like for me, was go fast, and there was big new, and I wanted to be a part of it. School just didn't make any sense. If I wanted to live in a van down by the river and be a musician, that was going to be a great, awesome track. But I didn't want to do that. And it'd be cool now, dude.
Right. Yeah, 100% it'd be cool now.
Oh yeah, living in the van down by the river, that's totally the thing now, right? Not cool when you're 49 though. But so, I decided I wanted to get more into the business. And so, I went to Kansas City and there was a little opportunity there to do some programming. I taught myself some programming, and that led me to Sprint when it was launching the first mobile division. And I slipped my name in there, and by the grace of God, they said, here, here's a job. And I'm like, what? So I got in a little startup called Sprint PCS when they launched the first mobile division. And that started from 99, and I was there until 2003 or 4. And I watched that company just explode like crazy. Mobile phones were going nuts. And I was like the 5,000th employee badged, and there was 80,000 people when I left. And IBM hired me out of Sprint to go do for them what I was doing for Sprint, which was around systems and knowledge management and technology management, And with that, I spent a good portion of that time being a part of IBM until 2007. IBM was like, hey, we're kind of making some changes. I said, well, I'm pretty much to the point where I don't want to be in corporate world anymore. I never really wanted to be here anyways. And when it crossed paths around June 2007, I jumped and got early retirement, and I just did a Hail Mary pass. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just left. I just burned the boats, said I'm never going back. Didn't want to be here anyways. Didn't burn the bridges, which was smart, because about a year later, I went back on a contract to make some money. Because, when you don't know what you're doing per se, but you just jump out and go for it, you have to figure out how to make some money. Imagine that. And that was quite a learning process to go from a corporate world mindset into a business mindset and really reprogram myself into doing that. And it was very difficult. I didn't have that growing up. My dad is a hardworking guy. He worked his 40 hours plus a week. He worked swing shift when he could. He wasn't always around, but he was a hardworking guy. And just had to, hustle for some money, had to mow some lawns and do other things to just have some extra cash, because, we did okay, but we weren't poor, but we were just, we didn't have anything beyond what we needed. If you wanted it, you had to go get it, figure it out. Like, dad doesn't have it, and don't talk about money in our house, because that's just disrespectful to dad, right?
Yep.
So, that was just the process by which I grew up, right? And so I learned to hustle. I learned to, go out there and learn to do things. And so I always had that kind of like, I can do what nobody tells me no kind of attitude. And that led me into trouble. It led me into opportunities, and it led me into trouble.
Fair enough, man. So how did you land in FBA?
How did I get into this
the whole thing? Because you've got a really interesting story. You took a chance on yourself knowing that you didn't want to be in the corporate world. I think personally, speaking for myself, but also I think speaking largely for the veteran community, a lot of us don't want to be in corporate America. It just doesn't fit in with us. But the big barrier there is belief in oneself, and kind of, I guess really lack of knowledge in what's available out there. And I know that for a fact, because I've presented a couple of different SkillBridge programs with kind of the general idea that the path back to purpose is entrepreneurship for veterans. And the most common response I get to that is, thank you for opening a door I didn't know existed. I didn't know I could be an entrepreneur. And I think that stems a lot, you said you're 49, correct?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I turned 40 this year, so we're kind of close in age, and we were raised very similarly. It sounds like, Dad's worked with his hands fixing commercial kitchen equipment for 40 years. He's 67. Okay. He probably won't retire till he's 72. He doesn't know anything else. He doesn't understand anything about the business landscape or what I'm trying to do or how possible it even is out here. And I think that's kind of a big barrier for veterans as well, because we're kind of so sheltered in the military lifestyle. It's be the best, whatever your job is, insert branch here. For my time in, it was the global war on terror. For some of these people, I don't even think they know what they're fighting for anymore, considering the current landscape. So it's just, you just are so sheltered, and you're not presented these opportunities. And so, the risk taking on yourself, the knowledge, like all of that. And so how did you determine, like, I know corporate's not for me, but I'm going to bet on myself?
Yeah, I just really never wanted to be in corporate. Like, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. So everything after that was kind of like a second guess, like what a second runner up. It's kind of like, now what? Like, so nothing settled. Nothing settled with me, because it didn't resonate with me. I just didn't want to be a part of a system. You know what I mean? And that's where corporate America kind of wants you to be. They want you to be part of the system. They don't want you to bucket. They don't want ideas. They don't want you to innovate. They just want you to do.
Yeah, right? And that goes against who we are as people, because we want to create the system.
Yeah, we got ideas. We want to create. We want to flow. We don't want people to tell us constantly, no, our ideas are not good. No, we're stupid. No, get back in line. No, do these things. And with a military type of presence, knowing I grew up around that, and having a lot of military people around us in our business and family life, because of what we do in our businesses, it's one of the things that gets kind of ingrained, that you're not good enough past a certain point because someone didn't tell you you're good enough. You actually need permission to be better.
Yes.
And that's such a terrible waste of human intellectual capital and opportunity for people, right? To tell them they're not good enough, that this is as far as they can go. And, to put restrictions on people is to really, again, subjectively crush their spirits in many ways. And I know that's part of the training and growth of putting somebody out into an environment where they have to go into warfare. I get that. To be able to shut those things down as men, compartmentalize them and put them into boxes, and, to separate those things emotionally from our lives, from our family, from our wives, or whatever the case may be. We have to compartmentalize those things. And with that, sometimes they spill over. They create problems in our life, right? They create challenges. both personally and professionally. And so the opportunity to get past that is to continue to find a purpose, to find a mission. Right.
Sure.
And with entrepreneurialism, it is a mission. It is an ongoing mission of seek, climb the hill, destroy, solving problems, going around, not just sitting down and being like, oh, this is insurmountable. Like, I can't do this. It's like, no, you need to keep pushing forward. Right. 100%. And with an entrepreneurial mindset, it leads to a business owner. Okay. There's two differences. Like when people say they're entrepreneurs, what I know now from my own experience is that means I'm just trying to find my way still. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm just trying things. I'm being an entrepreneur. And what a business owner is somebody who discovered a path. Like, this is what I do. Here's the value of my business, products or services. And then they become a business owner, right? They take ownership over a thing that they are going to focus on, right? And with that, business owners then can become business investors as they go through business later on, because you have to invest in your business. You have to invest in yourself. And at some point, you might have the opportunity to invest in other businesses or acquire other businesses and become an investor. Right?
Yeah.
You just can't jump to business investor and expect it to be successful.
You're probably going to lose a lot of money if you do.
You don't have the experience. Okay, let's call it what it is, right? You haven't executed it yet, so you don't know what you don't know. And it's really easy to say you have wisdom. I mean, today in today's world, you can be a 19-year-old, life coach with a check mark, and you have all the wisdom of the world, right? And that's actually not true. But what is true, we have all the knowledge of the world now. Right. And it is in the AI, it's in the systems and technology. You literally have access to all the information you could possibly want about any kind of business, any kind of process you want. So what we lack with all of that new information that can feel very overloading is, what the heck do I do? And in our world, it's, what the heck do I sell? Right. And we have to sell something. If you're going to be in business, you have to sell something. Okay. You got to sell yourself. If you're a service-based person, you got to sell yourself. If you're going to be an employee and get that job, you got to sell yourself. If you're going to do consulting or some business or service-based business where you work with your hands, and other people need to know the value of who you are and what you do, right? If you're in a business, you need to sell a product or a service, right? You need to provide product or service-based information. For us, I chose and got into Amazon FBA because it was a physical product that we sold and sell in our brands. And I had a digital component because I had a background in building up digital assets. What I discovered with my mindset was to connect the digital to the physical just completed the whole process. Like, a purely digital model is difficult for most people to figure out. And then sort of when you figure it out, what you realize is that if you're not careful, you'll just trade more time for money.
100%, man. I can agree with that more.
Yep.
As somebody who's tried to take that approach, it's just like, it's hard. It's really hard.
It can be difficult, and to figure out where you're at and where you specifically have a value, it's very difficult to make sure you translate that value. And the first thing you can do to translate that value is to do it first, right?
Yeah.
Do it first, execute it. Okay. From that execution comes experience, right? And in the world of military, you don't just get a gun and run out into the middle of nowhere if you have no experience.
Everybody knows drive blank live, man.
Drive you can't do it, dude. You literally could die in the process of it, right?
Yes.
So we have to be smart. Business is the same way. You can die in business if you're not careful. So if we have a path, we have a process, if we understand where we're going, if we understand what the mission parameters are, then we know where to get to and what to kill. And I'm a hunter-gatherer in business, so I get it and I know what to kill. I'm super competitive. I don't like to lose. And I like when missions succeed. I don't like when they fail. If they fail, I got to figure out how to make it work again, because that's just business. And business is nothing but solving problems at the end of the day.
Always.
And if you can solve other people's problems first, okay, then you will be able to solve yours. So how does that work? Well, in the idea of being on a plane, what's the first thing they tell you to do if something happens with the plane?
You got to put your oxygen mask on.
Secure your mask first, right? And then help the person next to you. And I think we get this role reversed in today's world, where it's like, well, if I can go out there and solve this other problem, then it'll solve my problem. But first we have to get that. That is a truth in business. But first you have to solve it for yourself.
Yes.
And so when I did this with Amazon and got going, what I was doing was solving my own problem. I actually ran into problems. The person who doesn't take no for an answer, who has great opportunities, but also fails miserably. I was one of those, I was that guy. I failed miserably. And I ended up in a bankruptcy with business stuff that had gotten too over leveraged, too much capital. I pushed it out too far, and partners were sort of taking advantage of the capital, and I got sucked into it. And turns out I had to file a business bankruptcy to restructure and start over with my plan. And since I knew how to do the digital and wanted to add on the physical, I went into FBA. And with that, I started discovering, how products are sold and serviced, how fulfilled by Amazon, for the acronym, in case people were wondering, fulfilled by Amazon. It just, if you order something from Amazon, which I'm sure a lot of you have, It's what shows up to your doorstep. The guy shows up, the lady with the package that delivers. We have our packages delivered that way through Amazon, right? It's fulfilled by Amazon. It's a whole ecosystem of ordering and delivering and shipping products to the customer. In their warehouses, their system creates a lot of automation, which is pretty cool. So I don't have a warehouse and a bunch of people working for me, right?
Yeah.
And that means I can do it from where I'm at. I'm like 50 acres in the country out here, right? So with that, you get to the physical component make complete sense because I was giving something to someone of a tangible value, right? They physically could hold it. And for me, it just clicked. That's the way I needed to do this. So that completed more of an integrity in the business cycle. Selling information is not wrong. Having knowledge is not wrong, and helping people. But for me, just the last mile of being like, well, you're creating an actual asset, a physical product, something tangible you can touch, and then supplying that to someone who's going to gain benefit from it. For me, that just completed the whole cycle of business integrity. Like in the ethics of business, I provide something that's a tangible output, right?
It makes so much sense when you talk about it like that, because selling knowledge, there's nothing wrong with that. But
no.
Like you said earlier, when you sell an intangible product like knowledge, you end up giving more of your time because not everybody gets it, or you don't resonate with everybody who's buying from you. So then you have to figure out more ways to create more courses or content around your knowledge. It's brutal. It's brutal.
Lot. And you say I'm trying to help that person, but at the end of the day, if they aren't creating something that can become tangible out of that for themselves, then in my world, you're not being a servant leader. Okay.
I agree.
So in servant leadership, when someone works with me on a business, they're creating an actual asset, a business with a tangible product of inventory that becomes a saleable asset. And why is that important? Because my mission is for each person to reach a saleable state with that business.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get 4 or 5 years out, that is a big asset. If it's done correctly, that business is worth more in the end than at any time during the business building phase.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I help and train them up, we have what's called a first rights of refusal. It's basically a gentleman's agreement borrowed from real estate, not a contractual, but an agreement that when they want to sell their business, they come to me first.
You get the opportunity to buy.
I get the opportunity to buy it off market. So if I can help them become successful in a tangible business, it becomes an asset for them, creates the cash flow necessary for their family, and gives them an opportunity to pour into other people when the time comes, right? Other people they hire, other people they could teach, their family, their kids, whatever. Then I benefit from that business later on, okay, by taking ownership of it in a acquisition, right? And so we've even extended that concept beyond Voltage to a partnership we call Patriot Growth Capital, which is now a veteran-backed, veteran-funded. You can check it out at patriotgrowthcapital.com. They helped 16,000 veterans last year. That's awesome. And the mission with Jonathan and Zach became, let's build something that becomes tangible for the veterans to actually do, operate, create, build, grow, scale, and exit a business. Okay. So we decided that the best route to expedite that was to work into our network and build up more of a private equity deal where we're acquiring existing companies in a specific buy box, and then we're hiring operators into that, veterans specifically. And with that, we're giving them an opportunity to be employed in a mission of that business that trains them up over 10,000 hours in 5 years or less and puts them in a position to acquire that company away from us.
That's right? Really cool.
Yep. So they have a mission, a purpose, and a potential value that if they train up in that, they follow our training, they do what we do, they eventually take over complete operational control of that business and then can have the opportunity to acquire it away. And we even help them acquire it by building up a little fund in the business that gives the ability to have a down payment for a SBA loan after 5 years that they will automatically be able to qualify for with our support and the funds that come from the business, so they can immediately acquire it away from us.
Good for you guys, man. This is amazing. So,
such a fun thing. And we're under, literally, as of last week, in between the time you and I talked before I came on here, we went under a letter of intent to purchase one of our first companies in that arrangement. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Super excited. We got to go through the due diligence. We got to finalize the, closet stuff and see where the skeletons are and make sure everything adds up to the way it is. But the intent of that, the letter of intent, is that we will purchase a company when it comes to the end. Should nothing glaringly be wrong in the numbers or the business or whatever with the owner, we will take and acquire that company. So we're super excited about that process. It took about 400 companies. We got down into negotiations with 5 of them to acquire them. This was the first to go to LOI. We should have a second and third going to LOI here very shortly, as long as the numbers work out. And 2 of them didn't work out because that's how it goes. You have to kiss a lot of frogs to find the right businesses to really deploy the kind of capital we're talking about, because these are $10 to $50 million companies.
Well, I want to commend you, because a lot of people talk about wanting to help the veteran community ease transition, provide,
Sure.
job placement, all of this, but you guys have actually created a pipeline with a valid 5-year plan with built-in security for them knowing that they can purchase this thing. One of the examples I'll give you is just, there's a lot of skill bridges out there, and skill bridge is a new thing. I didn't have an opportunity to do this when I got out, but the skill bridge can be an awesome program, but it can be a pretty scummy, shitty program too, in that they're really just getting free work from veterans with no intention of offering a job at the end of the 6-month internship.
Yeah. And that's totally look, what I want people to do is be empowered. When I work with somebody, veteran or otherwise, in my business, the goal is I have that big, hairy, audacious drive to buy companies outside of the current brands we own. We're operators, tactical operators. We've done over 30 million in sales through products at Amazon. Plus our clients have done more than 50 to 100 million in sales in management of them. We control 8 brands. We're launching 3 more that are under our control in my company. And we have another 12 or so that we manage those brands directly in the relationship of our partners with our clients. And then, of course, we have Patriot Growth Capital that's expanding on that as part of operations. But, when it got into this 12 years ago, it's a very different kind of situation. A lot's changed. And if you're listening to this today and I say the word tariff, you're probably going to be like, oh, yeah, man. This whole thing is crap because of tariffs, right? Everybody's like freaking out. Everybody, like we were joking earlier in the green room, like everybody's a tariff expert all of a sudden. It's like,
they are.
5 years ago, everybody was a COVID expert. And it's like, everybody on the internet is an expert at something.
Yeah, they sure are.
Miraculously become experts every other day. But here's the thing, right? So as we run this business, millions of dollars in capital running continuously through products and 40-foot containers multiple times a week and month for our business, I can tell you that, the tariff is a nothing burger. And I need everybody to hear me when I say this. Get off the freaking internet. Stop listening to that crap. Get off the MSN and media. It is not what you think it is, right? When we had the crazy hyper growth situation that occurred in the first quarter of 2020, the internet became the place to buy stuff. Why was that, Adam?
Because nobody could go anywhere.
They freaking locked it down everywhere, right? Idiotic thing you've ever seen in my entire life. So the benefit, unfortunately, was the growth that we saw because so many people came online. We saw 10 years of growth in 3 months.
What?
Yeah, insane numbers. Like I've never seen anything in my life. Like so many people poured online to buy stuff because they had an ability. My parents, for example, started buying through Amazon for the first time. And my dad's 83 now and my mom's 70. And they never wanted to get on that or do any of it. And here they are buying on Amazon, right? Because they had to first time. So they brought a lot of, transitioned so much. For the first time in the history of the internet, mobile phone purchases overtook desktop purchases. So we had a massive transition in what we call an adoption curve. Okay, a very large adoption curve for the acceptance of purchasing on the internet, which sounds weird when you think about it. Because doesn't everybody buy something on the internet? And it's like, no, actually. We weren't at the mass adoption of internet purchasing until 2020.
Well, and it's funny to say that because I'm going through it now. I feel like I just picked up a role as a CTO of an AI company. Doing
cool. Well, there's stuff going on there.
And for me, I felt for the longest time like I was behind in AI because it changes every day.
We are behind. We're behind since this conversation started, man. Like 5 other AI companies just launched in the last 25 minutes.
Right. A lot of it's noise though, but when you compare that to the population,
sure,
brother, I'm at the front, the very front.
Even if you just say the word crypto, everybody, if you just walk down the street and ask 100 people if they know what Bitcoin is, you'd probably get 20% of them to say yes and 80% to say, I don't know what it is. I don't know how to access it. I don't know what it means.
Yeah. Right. That's the perspective that you're giving with, kind of buying stuff 100%. Online in 2020. It's no different now.
Changed, right? So here's the thing about the tariff component that everybody's freaking out about right now, and China tariffs and shutdowns. And I see the forums and the people and the sellers, and they're all wigging out, right? They're
all get on TikTok and you'll see any small business e-commerce TikTok shopper being like, my business is dead now. And it's like,
let's see. What are they saying? When we read between the lines, what are they actually saying, right? I never liked America for America's sake. And so I'm just hating everything about America right now. Let's just call it what it is, right? That's how I see it. Maybe you don't, maybe other people listening to this. I just see them saying, well, I don't like American exceptionalism. I don't like the American idealism. I don't like, the evil capitalism of America or whatever. And it's like, but they're doing it from their iPhones, right?
Yeah.
They're arguing with their Gucci bags on their iPhones about how they hate American capitalism. I'm like, this is absolute lunacy. But here's the thing, right? So in 2020, when that occurred, a container for us cost $4,500, landed in December 2019. Do you know what it went to by December 2020?
I have no idea.
It was $25,000 a container.
Jeez. Holy shit.
Yeah, you want to talk about tariffs in an artificial format? Like, people don't know that because they're not a part of the business, or it wasn't made to be such a big deal because everybody was focused over here. They're like, hey, over here. And what we were experiencing over here was delays in shipments, delays in product movement, and super expensive pipeline, right? And if you add up the quote unquote 125% tariffs, and now as of yesterday, everything's paused for 90 days except China. Okay. Yep. 125% tariff on a container for me moves it from 4,800 to 12,000 something. Still nothing compared to the 25,000 we were paying 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, not even
so it's nothing. Here's what happens in business, right? Warren Buffett famously joked, when the tide goes out, you find out who's naked. Ooh. Right? So what we're seeing is all of these people and all of these thought processes being exposed, right? And what they're being exposed at, in my world, is a pro-China, anti-America, pro-everybody, anti-America. And I hate that. I absolutely hate it, right? Because I have a patriotic American dad who flies a flag, who served 2 tours, lost his hearing, lost his buddies, and had all this struggle for those years that he was in there, and come out, and he's a good guy, and he's been a wonderful provider. And I see many of my other friends who struggled through that, or people we know who've been lost and died in these actions. And I'm like, to me, that's just maddening. It's frustrating.
Well, and angry, I think, right? What's frustrating to me about this whole thing, no matter where you're at with whatever, is everybody bitches about everything's made in China these days, but we're actively doing something about that to change the global trade position.
So why would we be mad at it,
and
right?
So now you're fucking mad at it. And
it's Idiocracy, right? You ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yes.
Okay, that's what it is. It's literally separating people who have and I'm going to say this the wrong way, and it makes me stutter when I say it, but there's a group of low IQ people in our country who've been identified. Okay. And those who are smart, like the people listening to this podcast, understand that that's just not who you are. I don't want to resonate. I don't want to talk about that. Like, how dumb could you be, right? So at the end of this, what we want to do is be smart with our time, energy, attention, and money. We want to be smart with what we can impact. And having moved forward 12 years in this process and have all this business to control and all this stuff to oversee and all these people and things that we do, I look at it very differently now. So here's where I'm at, and here's where you should be if you're listening to this. I'm extremely bullish on America right now. Extremely bullish. What does that mean? It means we're deploying $2 million in capital this year to new products, right? It means that we're buying these companies and going to be deploying that capital out there. It means we are now putting ourselves in a position to take advantage of the slingshot that is coming. You can sort of feel it if you get past the little bit of fear and emotions that are being pushed everywhere online. If you listen to Kevin O'Leary's talk the other day, as you and I talked about, and you guys all go check that out, right? He was right on, right? China has got to stop its slave labor. We know that. We have a veteran on the street, a veteran buyer, not an actual veteran. His name's Jason. And I call him a veteran buyer because he's been hardened for years, and we sent a lot of money through him to be feet on the street in China to ensure quality control, no slave labor, no secondary slave chain supplies to our products from China, and making sure we have a very clean supply chain. Right?
Good for you.
Well, it's terrible. It costs more, and it's a problem in that country, and that has to stop. Why? Because we forced them to do that. We did for our own consumerism and the more evilistic capital corporations that forced low-priced products and crappy things to be sent off of American shores and over to these countries. We sort of took our brutal consumerism and we bashed it over there, and then we ignore it. We ignore it, right? And there's humans on the other side of that.
Yes.
Okay. Even children, right?
Yes.
So we have to be very careful that the things that are occurring right now are for the best interest of not just America, but for the Chinese people, right?
But Neil, they're going to lose their jobs and they'll starve.
There is a horrible effect of this that has to change. And you are right. There could be that real possibility. In fact, I was on the walk with my wife this morning. We try to walk 4 to 5 miles a day together. And we were talking about this morning. And I said, one of the great things I think I'm seeing occur is that while forcing that to occur, what I hear and see in the negotiations, why I see this change being forced to occur, is it's going to draw attention to those problems, and it's going to require China to be on the world stage once and for all, and be forced to account for that and to change it.
Yep.
Right? So that there isn't the possibility that the loss of income or jobs or whatnot could lead to tens of millions of people starving in China. No one really wants that. And it goes back to a very silly adage that we were probably taught as kids, you too, finish your food because they're starving kids in China.
Yeah, Africa is what I heard.
Well, I heard China too.
Yeah,
all I know is that I wasn't starving, so I needed to shut up.
Right. Yeah. Eat those fucking green beans. They're starving children in Africa.
I'm like, dude, there's starving children in Dallas, Texas. There's starving children down the road from me. There are starving children whose parents aren't taking care of them in the school districts just around the corner from us. Like, you don't have to go into Africa. You can deal with the problems like localized too. Yeah. Right. And so as we go forward, the point here is that, Amazon is just a sales channel. I want people to understand what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the whole business here. We can get tactical by Amazon's standards, but I just need you to understand that an e-commerce business runs on multiple legs. It runs on its supply chain. It runs on its brand. It runs on multiple sales channels. Okay. Amazon might be the first place I take people, but it's not the last place, right? They have to create multiple sales channels as they go along. It's a great place to take advantage of 200 million people who do nothing but want to buy everything in 30 seconds or less.
That's insane to me.
That's what it is, right?
It's crazy.
It's an 8,000 plus a minute sales machine.
Well, Amazon clearly has it figured out because I get emails 3-4 times a day. We found something you might like based on your browsing history.
So good.
I'm like, dude, you gotta stop with this.
So good. But here's the thing, Americans want to consume, and we have that capital, and we're yelling that we don't have enough, yet we consume a lot.
40%. 40% of all the consumerism in the world is us.
So what I would prefer the people listening to this podcast do is stop being a consumer and start being a producer.
Yes.
Okay, get off the consumer chain and start becoming a producer. Take advantage of the other side and let's change this. Why? There are very negative things about the economics of our marketplace. And one of them has been in the last 10 years, much of the middle business, individual entrepreneur, aspiring people and mid-business people doing, say, 3, 5, 10 million a year in the small business community of our country have been gutted by Chinese manufacturers coming direct to consumers. And one of those channel problems has been Amazon. We're yelling about it right now. I've ran into some troubles. My other friends who do very high figures on Amazon are kind of building a little of a consortium that we're trying to gain more, knowledge and information, as well as advocacy through TikTok and X to get awareness of this. Because, for example, and this is one of the bad things about the last 5 years and even some of the DEI initiatives that got pushed into these corporations, and one of them was Amazon, because now they're allowing Chinese distributors and manufacturers to put products into like Amazon, okay, without any oversight, and certain terms of services are being broken and they don't care. The number one gummy supplement on Amazon is a Chinese company who has a fake product. It's a creatine that has no creatine in it. And it's sourced directly from manufacturing out of China. And it's the number one gummy product on Amazon. Like, this has to stop. Why? Because Amazon would shut me down. They would destroy my business if I did that. But they've turned a blind eye and let China do it. There's multiple examples of these. And this is a con about what Amazon is doing. Yeah, does that mean the whole thing is null and void and there's no opportunity? Of course not, right?
I actually talked to a veteran business owner who sold exclusively his product on Amazon. And the biggest problem he was facing was that the Chinese creators ripped his product off and resold it. They were selling more than
5 years. Yeah, in the last 5 years, they have let that become an insane nightmare, which has overloaded their support system, making it very difficult for support to occur, right? They've kind of got this problem that has to be very dramatically fixed. And it's going to be forcibly fixed through this tariff process, right? So what's going to happen is that 125%, the American businesses are going to have to move or change manufacturing or change strategies to minimize tariffs, which you can do, and we do, okay? And I spent 2 hours teaching our clients this strategy yesterday to make sure they understood. We taught it months ago, we brought it up a year ago, and we taught it again yesterday. So this is not reactionary to the market. Smart sellers are not reactionary, right? So we knew, we planned, we changed supply chains, we got through different strategies. Okay, there are 10 legal ways to almost nullify tariffs if you do it the right way legally. And so tariffs for us aren't that big of a deal. And by the way, as mentioned, it's not as bad as it was in December 2020. Okay, yeah, so we're not there by any means, right? Not at all. And so what I hear more is just rhetoric and nonsense about things that people don't know about, acting like they're experts. If the opportunity wasn't there, why would I be so bullish? It is there. It's there to push forward in there, because these manufacturers, as this continues to change, as mid-sized sellers to smaller sellers who are not as business savvy, haven't been trained, or don't understand the business and economics as well as they think they do, they're going to fall out of the market. Right. And by the end of 2020, that happened.
Which means there's opportunity.
Opportunity everywhere. Right. If everybody's running one direction, you should stop and ask yourself, what are they doing? Why are they running that direction? Not just panic with them and run.
Yeah,
let's
address the situation.
Let's stop for a second and figure out what's going on, right? Because you might decide actually going the other direction is the safer route because everybody going that way is about to fall off a cliff.
Yeah, they're scrambling. They don't know what they're going to do.
They're scrambling. They're panicking. They don't understand. And I see it in the forums and everything else. Smart business people who are taught how to become good business people understand to plan, to not knee-jerk react, and to look forward and say, what are these things that are most impactful and how do I make sure that the revenue generating activities continue? And how do I change? Some things are unenforceable. Some things are problems. We ran into one of our brands that got 4 SKUs taken down since December. It took us 5 months to get it back online. It was a hit job from a competitor who hired a guy with what they call Project Zero Super Access, which he's not really supposed to have access to. And he did a fake DCMA, a digital communications takedown by basically a really cool technique that I hadn't seen before in years. And it was basically to update his listing and say, these are all the stuff, copy our listing, update it, and then file the DCMA takedown. And what he did is he just threw us into Amazon support hellhole. And he did it on December 24th.
So, of course, the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. They're overloaded. Then they have to deal with, January stuff. Then there's a holiday. And then so they didn't even start addressing it with us until February. And we tried very hard to address it. So these are these kinds of problems. People are afraid of those. But look, they're business problems, right? This guy, this hit job, whatever, he lost. We got our SKUs back, right? Because we had the records to show. We had the screenshots to show what he did. But here's the thing. Someone gave him access to something that he's abusing. Right? That's a corporate problem. Look, man, if you go to Meta, if you go to websites, if you go to TikTok, if you try to sell anywhere online, you're going to run into all those problems, man. All of them. Every platform, every situation is going to have that problem. So you just need to pick one of the horses and ride it. Like we say in the country, you can't ride 2 horses with one ass, right? So you have to pick one.
Yeah. Well, let's actually tell them how to build an FBA.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's why you're so high on this, why you're so bullish on this, and why this is a prime opportunity for those getting out right now to jump into this. With a pretty solid, way forward.
Yeah. So as everybody's yelling fire and running for the cliff, right? We're going the other direction.
You're going straight into the fire.
We're pushing, yeah, dude, right into the firefight, right? Why? Because we know that we can win it and it's going to take a little longer. And we know that if we're prepared for it, we can deal with what's going to happen on the other side, which is a slingshot effect. And we saw that already in 2020, right? Mm-hmm. So as you come into 22 and 23, we saw, enormous growth in our business, which was amazing. So we see this the same way. Okay. So if you understand it, there's 4 steps. Let's go through those 4 steps. First thing is, what the hell do I sell? A lot of you on here are listening. Like, that's great, man. I get it. That's all cool. But what kind of product do I sell? Well, here's the fun part about this, right? In all the years of doing this, we came to discover years ago when we hit our first 7 figures in brand, which is around 2015 or so, 2014, we got to our first 7-figure brand. It taught us a lot about the economics, the system, and the business of doing this. And one of the things we discovered in that process is we got more sophisticated in the business of physical product brands. We realized that as the AI systems were coming online, and as we were learning the conditional changes of consumerism to being a producer and trying to get ideas as to what the market wanted and give them that particular product and brand so they want more of it, what we realized was we were selling data to an AI engine. Right? Amazon has an AI engine component. It was more machine language learning and what's called semantic-based searches and that kind of stuff, but it's moved all in now to large language models and AI in the last 3-4 years, right?
Everything is.
So that direction. Customer intent, customer needs, customer systems. And we saw it changing back in 2015 to 2016 and 17. And so we started to make a move towards that, knowing that it was coming. And then in the last 3 to 5 years, it's just gone exponentially faster. And what it meant was that we learned how to sell data to an AI engine so that it would understand who we are, what our narrative was, and how we're better positioned for our product to meet the demand of the customer than the current competition. Mm-hmm. And it's data driven. Okay, there's no emotions in it. So when we went through this conditional process of learning what products to sell and how to define them, what it really got down to is, what are the numbers, right? If we go by the numbers and actually understand 80% of the profitability of the product, its market, competition, and opportunity, then the data reveals the products to us. No guessing. Okay.
Which stands to reason because data is king in business.
Data, it doesn't lie. The numbers tell a picture, right? And the numbers will present to you, it's this product, not that one. And so you don't guess. Well, wonder if this one, wonder if that one. I wonder if I can create something for the market. And when you change that process of conditioning yourself, okay, to understand what to sell through product analysis and research, and then understanding the numbers that make the product profitable and make the demand, you start to get a picture of what the customer needs are, okay? And in Amazon, there are customer needs that drive the $638 billion they make every year.
That's insane.
Right?
How much
right. So 62 is so big numbers, right?
Such a big number.
And 62% of those sales go to third-party sellers. Okay.
Which is you.
Yep, we're third party. Okay. First party is Amazon or anybody Amazon partners with in their brands. And by the way, yesterday, Amazon Basics and their private labels paused all of their inbound shipping.
Ooh.
Right. Which is a big signal for us to go faster.
Yeah, go to the fire. To the fire.
Faster. Run. Like run, right? The fire has circled behind us, and now we got to keep going forward because it's just so much opportunity. But with that numbers, you basically determine, and we teach people how to learn, like 8-figure sellers, what the numbers are to show that opportunity. We don't sell products that are less than $50. That's one of the things we learned a while ago. Okay, customer needs average on Amazon $67 per purchase.
That's good information to have.
So if you're selling a $20 product, you may be moving on volume, but you're not going to move it on profitability. An amateur person without the business knowledge would say, well, I'll sell more volume, I'll make more money. Make sense? Kind of sounds common sense like, right? But here's how the numbers work. If I have $1 in profit, which is not a lot per unit, and I sell 1,000 units this month, okay, sounds kind of good, right? Made $1,000 in profit. If I sell 2,000 units next month, but I keep my profit at $1, do I stay profitable in month 2? The answer is no, right? Why? What increased and what didn't increase?
Probably your marketing.
Cost, overhead, marketing, and inventory increased, but my profit didn't increase. So where is it going to come from? It's going to come from your profit. So I actually made more like 50 cents or 35 cents when I sold 2,000 products with $1 profit previously. Now I have the additional expense and overhead I got to make up for, so I actually made less money. So it isn't about a volume play. Volume is vanity. It's like revenue. It's vanity, okay? Cash flow is king and profit is sanity, right? Revenue is vanity, cash flow is king, and profit is sanity, okay? You can't run your business by gut feel. You have to do it by the numbers. And as we learned forward, we kept moving our product up. And as we determined 5 by 5 in our methodology, okay, 5 products averaging 5 units a day or 25 sales a day needed to have a minimum of $12 in net profit. Net is what we keep, okay? So with that basis, then we needed to look to a minimum of 12, which means our averages are typically closer to $40 to $80 in profit per unit. Now with that, what did I have? Okay. Buying power, marketing power. Okay. I had an economic engine that just doesn't pay for me. It pays for infrastructure and people. It pays for more inventory, right? Gives me the right economics to make this thing go. Now here's the thing. All products have a life cycle. Brands live on forever. Understand? All products have a life cycle. Brands live on forever. How many old school brands can you name?
Oh God. I mean, WD-40 is one of the oldest that's out there.
Nike, right? Sony, these Toyota, these brands live on
Ford.
for a long time, right?
Yeah.
But the products have changed. Okay, so we don't marry our product. Why? We marry the brand and the data, but the product will change. So if we don't marry our product and we aren't thinking about product first, we're actually thinking about sales fixes everything first, which is the data by which we sell to an AI engine. And the AI engine then finds the customer that's more in tune with that data and sells the product to them in 30 seconds or less, and then delivers the product to them. That's job. So my job is to make sure I understand who I'm selling to, making sure it's profitable, and making sure the engine understands exactly why I'm the better product.
I love this because I think of this as like basically a digital general store. Your brand is a digital general store.
And in that brand, you may have a home and kitchen, and everything in there is only home and kitchen. And when you determine a particular product set that is good in there, okay, the product set is something that entices the customer to click add to cart and buy the product on the faith that that product will show up in 2 days or less.
Yes.
Right? Because you're not actually holding the product and have a tangible one and go, oh, this is the one I want to order it. You have a belief and a faith in the system that after you order it for the exchange of money, the median, then the product will show up in 2 days or less.
Yeah.
So did you actually buy the product?
No.
You You didn't. And that's why we sell to an AI engine, right?
Yeah.
Because its job is to find that customer, make sure it's the right customer in just in time based on their needs, based on their intent, and say, this product that Neil's selling is the product that you want.
This is incredible. Like this is such a good breakdown.
Well, I'm glad. That's good.
Well, because my experience with the breakdown of Amazon FBA is listening to some YouTube guru just get you on the top of his funnel saying he's got the secret, and this is how you find a winning product. And
we call them hopium generals, right? They're hopium dealers. They're like that dime bag dealer on the corner, and there's a dime a dozen of them, right? They have like one hit wonder, and they don't know, they can't replicate it into scale.
Yeah, my least favorite part of learning about Amazon FBA when I went and tried to pursue it was just hearing winning product. It's like nobody ever mentioned data. Ever.
No, data is the entire point. And so as we moved forward with data, we built systems around it. We built processes and spreadsheets first, and now we built systems and softwares to make that go faster. And we're using AI to gather the different data points of intelligence, use our own algorithms, okay, to then interpret the data for us and then tell us based on the needs and intent, which product and which location, okay, because Amazon's a big filing cabinet. It's like a river. Amazon's a river, but it's also a big decision tree in a filing cabinet, right? And in that filing cabinet, you can place stuff in the wrong location, okay? So if you don't understand what the customer need is and you don't put it in the right location and you don't price it correctly, you're going to lose. So if you've failed at an Amazon product or a test market, or you wonder if I'm going to fail, it's because you didn't understand there's a vertical line running from customer all the way through order. And that vertical line runs from the intent through the system itself and its location in the system and its ability for the system to show it to you, the person it intends to show it to, for the basic understanding that you will buy it, and then deliver that product correctly and have you build a positive review process into that to kind of close the whole loop. Okay. So that you love the product, it was the right product, and by measure of review, the system did a great job and the provider of the product did a great job because the customer's happy. And that closes this economic engine. So if we understand where to put it, if we understand what the need actually is, okay, not guessing, but what's the need for a particular product in Amazon and how many people are selling it and what's the average of sales that they do every year? Is it 10,000 units, 100 units, 50,000 units? Okay. And then understand exactly that's the need that's in demand. And oh, by the way, it's not the white version, it's the black version. Well, the data tells me what happens if I would have sold the white. It wouldn't have sold as well as the black one. Now, could you have guessed? Sure. Could you have said, well, I used some other data intelligence engines and it told me I should sell the white one? Well, it wasn't the one that's actually most in demand. It's actually a section of intelligence that I don't give out, right? It's behind an NDA and we keep that intelligence. It's gotten better with Amazon's data in the last few years to just validate what we already knew, but give us accurate data now from Amazon.
That was going to be my next question is your data analysis, the way your process is definitely proprietary, which is kept behind the scenes, right? So anybody that's interested in coming to you that's listening to this right now, this is what you get when you join Voltage.
You're going to get a proprietary data system of intelligence that right now, having been in this market for 12 years, I can say with honesty and integrity, I see no other business owner, software tool, etc., talking about this or having access to it, right? So with that, I have data intelligence that is above board. I've already proven it in multiple product launches that are part of our case studies that this is how that data works. And once you're in line with that engine, and it's like a river flowing 24/7. You can just imagine a river flowing, right? Mm-hmm. And in that river, there's all these people floating the river looking for these products. And in the middle of that river is usually what? A current, right? And the current's where the fastest water runs on the river. Well, Amazon has this current, and in that current is where the current sellers are meeting the current demand for that product, okay? And what ends up happening with a lot of sellers is they think, well, I'll throw up a listing, I'll just give this a shot, I'll order a few thousand units, not really knowing what they're doing. And then what happens is the river is flowing in the current, and they're standing on the side without not even being in the river, and they're yelling at the river to come to them.
That's not how rivers work.
That's not how a river works, dude. You get in the boat, you swim out to the current.
Yeah.
You get in there, and people are literally standing on the side of the river going, hey, I'm over here. And they don't understand what they're missing, right? And in that data current, if you align your data, images, graphics, copy, and understanding what the new engines of Amazon's AI, they're called Cosmo and Rufus. Okay, Cosmo and Rufus. Cosmo is a ranking engine that's behind the scenes that's running the large language ranking model. And then there's Rufus that runs the front end for customers that helps them understand where to find the products. And then Cosmo sort of feeds it data and it feeds Cosmo data.
So you've tapped into that somehow, I assume.
We've tapped into the information that tells us exactly what are the customer needs that are occurring, when they're changing, and how they're being dynamic at different times of the year. And then it points us straight through the customer need to where it's located inside of Amazon's filing system, so it's properly placed in front of the right traffic, and then how to make sure that we pick exactly the product that's in demand, meeting the greatest customer need, and then I simply go and launch that product. And organically, I'm looking for 10 to 12 to 14 days worth of data response from the engine to show me how close I got.
That's so cool. So I want to shift gears for a second as we're coming up on the hour here and we're running out of time. If a veteran is getting out of the military right now, a service member is getting out of the military right now, realistically, taking a chance on themselves and then coming to invest into Voltage, to your program, to learn how to do this stuff, how long before they could make a comparable wage to what they were making when they get them? Because that's the biggest pushback you get with veterans trying to start businesses.
And every business person wants to know, if I invest my time, energy, attention, and money, or we call a team effort into this, first, I want to make sure that we're in the same boat, row in the same direction. Doesn't do us any good if we're going in circles, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I want people to understand the mission here is to build a business with an exit in mind.
Yes.
Okay. Within a 5-year period of time. Business has grown and developed over a 5-year period of time at the current market, current situation, current political situation, have no capital gains tax when they exit after 5 years using a specific clause. Okay. With that, then if it changes, which it might, because I'm hearing the rumors that capital gains might go out this year, that changes the whole game, which is awesome. But at this point, if it doesn't change, that's the end goal, to sell a business within 5 years and be able to get the full weight of that value. So when you go forward, you need to think about it in a 36-month sprint, okay? 36-month sprint in business. That is year one, I'm building forward. And if I can reinvest all profits in year one, I'm setting myself up for growth and profitability, even greater, in year two. So I understand where I can start taking profits out of the business without capitulating or slowing down the growth of the business. Okay, that's an opportunity to not take profits out too soon to slow the business down, right? Because these businesses can move extremely fast, and they are cash flowing businesses that require capital investment of inventory in order to work. Okay. And in year three, the possibility of growth to scale becomes a reality because you're a more mature business in time. You have more reviews, you have a better product base. And within years 3 to 5, the goal for everybody I work with is to become part of the 8%. You ever heard of this? The 8% are the businesses that survive year 4 through 5. 92% of businesses fail in years 4 through 5. Okay. They don't employ the proper business understanding and the business training in years 1, 2, and 3. And they take on too much profit, they capitulate and can't grow the business. And by years 4 and 5, they're crashing out.
Yeah, they take way too, they're making an incredible amount of money because it is a cash flowing business. They're like, let me just take some of that out for
They're taking too much. They can't reorder the inventory. They're not patient or smart about the overall objectives. They become a little desperate in the situation. There's a lot of different reasons why people exit, and divorce and disability and all kinds of problems that can come into that cause them, or just frankly running out of money in the business to keep it going, right?
Right.
Because they weren't smart enough to figure out how to train or get trained or figure out how to run it. They end up crashing, and that happens a lot. I want everybody to avoid that. Okay. I want them to become part of the 8%, which means in year one, to get to a going concern, I have a performance goal with people I work with. Okay. I put some skin in the game. I have a fee that's $35K for year one, but it's $10K held back that I put as a skin in the game bonus of reaching $100K in net profits. Okay. 100K in net profits. And it's the goal orientation there is to get the product into market within 120 days or less, to a going concern, meaning you're driving revenue. When you're driving revenue, congratulations, you have a business. You don't have a business because you decide you want to start one and you file the LLC. Okay. You have a business when it starts making sales. When you're in revenue, you have a business. The goal with revenue is to turn it into profit. Everybody wants a business to start out profitably. 0 to 0.01% of businesses start out profitably. Okay. They start with revenue and they become profitable. Make sense? So we got to hit the right expectations. Very pragmatic about this, right? So as we go forward, that business is goal oriented to get to $10,000 a month in profit 12 months after revenue starts, or I forfeit my bonus, right? Guaranteed. You don't pay it. I'm putting some skin in the game that actually occurs. The remaining balance of that fee then goes to an installment, a 5-month installment plan, but we work together for 12 months one-on-one to do this, to build you into an operator who has the ability to become a CEO through resources, technology, my software, my coaches and training, my infrastructure and my all of my people and network that come along with this are goal oriented to get you into a going concern. Why? You remember my big, hairy, audacious goal earlier? I want to buy the companies that are successful. So I only invest in those small amount of people that do this with me to ensure that they go longer and get to that outcome. So I don't have a course or a program. I don't take 1,000 people in a month and brag about all that shit because I don't really care about it. What I do is I look for operators who become strategic operators in the e-com world. What happens later on? They may partner with us. They may partner with us on a brand or another product, right? They may acquire a company with us. They may become part of Patriot Growth Capital's acquisition. They may be part of a larger network of group. And I found that it's much better in business to go longer with people than to just take short-term gain. And that's what most courses or programs do. So I have no interest in that. I have people apply with me only. I don't have a sales team. And we talk about what you're doing and where you're going and making sure it's a good fit. You actually take what's called a DISC profile assessment, DISC.
Love that.
And you have to make sure that you have an operator capability of understanding where your strengths and weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are, so that I know that you don't become a liability to yourself or my business, because this would go badly. And to make sure that you are 100% in tune with where you're going, and that if we get in the boat together, again, we're rowing the same direction. Otherwise, it won't work. And then I'll just tell people, I'm sorry, this isn't a good fit. And then I invite the people who I think are a great fit to join with me.
I love this, man, so much. What happens when you buy from an operator after that 5 years? In theory, let's just say they're now equipped with all of the knowledge to go and really do another one on their own.
Oh, absolutely.
Thing,
or
right?
keep expanding the one they have into other sales channels, which they should be doing, right? They
so I
should
assume that's where the partnership with you comes in, because they're going to want access to the proprietary things that they had access to before.
They will have all the access of everything necessary to basically become employee-like, even though they don't become an employee because they're with us. They're in a relationship, and 100% ownership of the business is theirs. I take no ownership in their business until we get it to a saleable state, right? When it's a saleable state, if I take 100% ownership of it, I put an operator in and it runs the company. If they want to stay as the operator, we may do a combined buyout, a creative financing where they stay as part of the operator. We cash out, a percentage of the business to them, and then they stay in operations. But now we bring a larger network, better capital, and a bigger focus to that business to move it to the next level of acquisition.
This is awesome, man. Neil, dude, this has probably been kind of the best roadmap I've seen for FBA out there, for anybody looking to get into FBA. Just with you, the kind of human being that you are, and what you've put together with Patriot Growth Capital, and just you want to buy these things, so the incentive is there for you to make sure that they're successful. And I can't think of a better opportunity for those getting out right now, or those who have been out who are interested in becoming a business owner, or are in the entrepreneur stage, as you define it, right? Trying to figure out where they're going and what they're building. This is an incredible opportunity. It's definitely not for me. I'm on another trajectory. I wish I would have met you 18 months ago, 2 years ago, because it probably would have been for me. But
sure.
Man, I can't thank you enough for reaching out to me to be here today. Please tell everybody how they can reach out to you to apply to be a part of this, if this strikes their fancy and all of that, all your socials, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, we'll put it all in the show notes, I'm sure, but I know there's 10 free copies of the book for those who want to grab that. I believe we gave you a code, and it'll be in the show notes and stuff to give out 10 free copies of my book to those digital version. Anybody who wants to grab that, give you the strategy and oversight of this business model in more detail. If you guys are, patriot in nature and veterans in nature, which I believe you are, if I'm not mistaken, go over to patriotgrowthcapital.com and check out what John and Zach are doing over there for veteran support, veteran events, and other things around veteran community and family. If you need some of that, that's a great place to check that out. VoltageDM.com, VoltageDigitalMarketing.com can show you the presentation, the book, our As Seen on TV presentation with my good friend Kevin Harrington, who was the first Shark Tank shark. He also wrote the foreword to my book. We talk about the strategies by which we deploy the capital in the business into Amazon plus larger framework. And there's resources and workshops and other things you can check out there as you do your due diligence. And should you want to talk with me, go right ahead. There's information. My text number is within that information. And then you could Google my last name, TWA, and you'll find all the, I'm out there with the airline company. I show up everywhere.
That airline doesn't exist anymore, brother.
It doesn't. No, but it's still on the internet forever, right? So you can find me if you just Google my last name, Twa, or Google Voltage. You'll see all my socials, and whichever one you feel comfortable, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. If you want to reach out on X, that's cool too.
Man, I really appreciate it, Neil. Thank you so much for reaching out to me, for wanting to come on and just share all this information with the audience here, my brothers and sisters. My goal is to just give them every advantage when they get out that they possibly can, because as we talked about in the green room before, it's 2025. The internet's a real thing, and there's a ton of money to tap into. And this is just one of the 1 million ways that you can do that. And so I really appreciate you coming and shedding some light on it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Neil Twa from Voltage Digital Marketing. All his socials, everything will be linked in the show notes. And admittedly, I never saw an email with 10 free copies of the digital book, so we'll have to square that away. And we'll make sure that that's
to you. So we'll make sure that it's included so you guys can get to that.
And I really appreciate it. Until next week, everybody, have a great week. And we'll see you up next time with another great episode of The Strategic Veteran. Take care. That's our show, and I'm truly thankful you've joined us at The Strategic Veteran. If our conversation today sparked curiosity, or if you're ready to elevate your game, I'm here to help. Visit thestrategicveteran.com for exclusive show notes and resources, or to book a coaching session directly with me. Take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and share your review. Your support makes all the difference. For more insights and daily strategies, let's connect on LinkedIn and keep the conversation going. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's your strategic advantage in action. Until our next rendezvous, stay bold and continue the mission.